Hello and welcome to the Scoutcast. My name is Joe.
My name is Seb.
And my name is Andy.
Welcome everyone. Are we going to have a monologue or two? Maybe, I don't know. No, there's not. We're not going to monologue. We're going to chat, aren't we? That's the message for us. And so, Seb, what chat have we got coming up?
Sure. So it's just been game week 1, so we're going to rip up all our plans and start again, right? That's how we play this game. But realistically, Joe's going to look at some emerging differentials from this week. Andy's going to take a look at Man United, specifically versus Leeds, and how Bruno came in big and whether he's a captain option for game week 2. Myself, I'm going to have a look at a few little stats and some other players that impressed in the first week. Of course, we've not got much to go on there yet, though, so it's all speculative. We've got the usual fixtures to frisk, of course, some differentials to present you. We're going to have a look at Alex's team, which is the team we are managing as a Scoutcast team.
Scary.
Look ahead to scary. Yeah, he's got a better record than all of us. So we'll do our best not to make it completely
I'm off.
terrible.
I'm off next week, so I'm giving you the keys to Alex's team. So you've got to press the buttons.
Can't wait.
If we play our cards right, we could all push ourselves just one rank higher with this. If we push him right down, we'll all do a little bit better.
Well, if he's first and we're second, third, and fourth, then we'll definitely screw him over.
We'll claim it. We'll get the tickets or whatever the prize is and go as a group.
Yeah.
And so once we finish running his team, we will also look at our game week 2 teams ourselves. But of course, we've got game week 1 to look back on first. And I think you're up, Joe, as the champion of the first week.
There we go. So there's not much in it. It looks amazing that being top of the Scoutcast or whatever on Twitter, but I'm not. There's only about 10 points, 20 points between like everyone I've seen. I think people are saying, I've got 80 points and that's a really bad week. I think it's brilliant. But so yeah, here I am in the 100 club. Now I had to construct many of these slides over the last couple of days, and I honestly did not swear lots at Photoshop. So I'm hoping I've got the right shirts, I'm hoping I've got the right scores, and I'm hoping when it comes a bit later I've got the right team difficulties. But in the meantime, and for the benefit of those listening on the podcast, I've got Sanchez, Shaw, Alexander-Arnold, Tsimikas, Salah, Captain, Fernandes, Vice, Barnes, Greenwood, Ings, Antonio and Tony. And 7 out of 11 of those buggers all came in, which is brilliant. And the ones that didn't, I'm quite happy with still. Barnes, Tony, Shaw and Sanchez. I do have a regret though. Can you guess what my regret is?
Ben Rama.
No. I didn't go for the Brentford goalie, but more of him on him later. Because I mentioned him on my team reveal video with Az last week, and it was picked up by someone else on Twitter, and I was saying I mentioned him, and I thought he could be the 4.5 goalkeeper. But anyway, more of that a bit later. But I think he's got the lot, and I am worried about Sanchez. I don't know if I'm going to get clean sheets. I don't think I'm going to get saves. I don't know if I'm going to get bonus points.
Like I said, we're not going to overreact to 1 week, are we? Joe?
I am, but I'm overreacting on a 4.5 goalkeeper. I am not going to get rid of Salah this week.
Yeah, and if that's the only thing that went wrong last week, then that's a pretty good week, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I had room for Ayling on my bench, which was who got a goal. Got his goal. Remember, Seb? Yeah. All last season, you said Luke Ayling, his XG is amazing. He's going to score. Bingo.
Yeah. For anyone who watches Brooklyn Nine-Nine, vindication.
Yes. You've been vindicated. And but I'm going to bench him again probably. But I'll probably miss his other goal, his 2 goals.
Yeah.
But I really want Luke Ayling in my side actually now, because I want him to score. I want to do his flicky hair. I want all that. There's Seb. Let's have a look at your team then.
Sure.
So yeah, do you want to? Any regrets or who?
Yeah, I got 99 points. Ooh. So it's only 3 points behind you, Joe, but it feels like it's about 30. I will run through my team. So I have Sanchez in goal, Alexander-Arnold, Shaw, Utd and Tsimikas at the back. Pretty pleased with that. I mean, Shaw looked attacking enough. Trent is Trent. I thought Utd with Everton was interesting. They put in a lot of crosses. Everyone will have heard this by now. The 17 crosses compared to an average of 12 last year. But they have one tactic, hit DCL on the head. And I think Utd's going to be a big part of that. And Tsimikas actually probably looked more attacking than we all expected, although his days could be numbered with Robbo back in training.
Robertson's back in training. He's outside, but there's a long way to go between jogging up the side of a pitch and getting on and facing Chris Wood at Anfield.
Do we think maybe Chelsea he could be targeting?
Oh, I think he'll be back in the... Well, we always thought it was probably game week 4, but it could be game week 3, yeah. But I'm not interested in him or Liverpool too much for game week 3 and 4. In fact, I might even... Anyway, more of this later, but yeah, I'm thinking, do I need so much Liverpool for the next game week 3 and 4? But
Interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of Liverpool, I've got Salah captain in midfield with Fernandes and Buendia, who's probably my one little punt that didn't quite come off. It was between him and Benrahma and Barnes and any of that lot. Still happy with him for next week, but would rather have Benrahma right now.
Yeah.
And Ings, Antonio and Wilson up front, which I'm pretty pleased with, especially Callum Wilson and Antonio, who came out very good on the numbers.
Do you know what? Callum Wilson, I didn't realise he was a differential. I just assumed, he was like 15, 20%. But I think he was, when I checked, he was something like 7% in team, 7%
Yeah, I
ownership.
think so.
And I guess, I don't know why that is. I guess people prefer other options.
I guess a lot of people went with like Tony and then put money into midfield, so maybe he was the first one to drop out.
Yeah, no, I think so. I don't know. I like the look of your team because it's a bit like mine. It's a bit like all the template because it was a good week for the template. But I guess Wendy is the one to watch because he's on a 3-week window, isn't he, with Villa?
So Danny Ings and Buendia was basically exactly as you say, targeting those first 3 weeks, which is why I went that as opposed to like double West Ham.
Yeah.
I was not very impressed with Villa, but first week missing Watkins, maybe a bit of gelling. Bailey only came on in the second half, so they've got Newcastle at home next. It was the team that Benrahma and Antonio just exploded against. So, providing no price changes, I think I'll hold on to Buendia.
Okay, right, Andy. Let's have a look at your team then. I got all the shirts right. Right, who do you hate and who do you love, and what did you get? What score?
So mine was 10.
Oh, he's
all
gone.
Those 100 Club boys out there.
What was that? Sorry.
Sorry. Did I go for a bit then?
Yeah, the internet just cut out just the key bit of my score was.
Oh no! Mine was terrible compared to all the 100 Club boys out there. I only got 94 points.
Shame on you.
I know, literally, I couldn't believe it when you put the scores up for us in the group before we came on. I thought, I'm doing all right this week, and then you guys had 99 and 120 or whatever it was Joe got, and I thought, oh god, here we go.
There's always next season, mate.
Yeah, I know. There you go. That's it now. Game week 1 done. But no. I'm to be honest. All I said was, I know when I came on last week, we were talking about me having Mane instead of Bruno, and I walked away from that thinking, do I really want to be taking that much of a massive risk in game week 1?
No.
And I looked at it and just thought I would rather have a steady start in game week 1 and it be okay than a potentially amazing start, but also a potentially poor start. And that's exactly what
16-point swing. That's that one decision. But Mane's quite good against Burnley, but then Fernandes against Southampton next week, so still could be good.
I mean, I'm fairly happy with my team. Barkman, I'm not expecting loads from him anyway, to be perfectly honest. Shaw, Simicus and Alexander-Arnold was pretty template. I think a lot of people had that anyway. Salah and Fernandes, absolutely fine. I was never going to captain Fernandes over Salah. I always fancied Salah in that fixture. I mean, I even said to Seb, didn't I, last week, that I thought Leeds would not shut up shop, but I thought they'd do quite a good job against United, and obviously that didn't transpire, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Mahrez, that's a lot of money for 2 points. And City did not look good. I know people have said they're slow starters. Spurs look resilient. I thought that was something that we could talk about later, the fact that actually they did defensively look quite resilient. Tanganga had an amazing game.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I was a little bit gutted there. Benrahma, though, very, very happy with that. I feel like Benrahma could stay in my team.
That's
12 points, 6 mil. I mean, he's such a good player as well. I'm a little bit gutted. It sounds like I've got a load of regret in here, but 94 points is pretty good. But I feel like I didn't want to go with Benrahma and Antonio because I didn't want that double up just in case they struggled at the beginning of the season. And actually, I think I maybe had those issues or worries about West Ham when I should have been having them about Villa. Villa are actually doing what I thought West Ham would do. They kind of just seem to not be quite there at the moment. But apart from that, I'm fairly happy. I'm rolling my transfer next week, most probably.
Yeah.
So, not too bad.
I look at your team and I can only see one real main regret on your bench. You didn't play in Captain Scarlet.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Yeah, big Will.
And I'll get my coat over that one. So what's next in our in our chatty discussion that we've got going on. I think it's going to be me, and I'm gonna introduce something. I'm going to do some quick fire sort of questions at you. It's about bandwagons, really. But I know. Well, both of you are going to talk about some genuinely good bandwagons. I know one team in particular with Andy, and Seb's going to talk about some of those stats and some of those under and overachievers, but also, you know, some genuine names. But I'm going to go for the unfashionable ones because some of them could be good, some of them could be bad. So we'll find out. So here's my compilation. I'll put it up on screen. So what this is, I've done everyone who scored a goal, who I deem to be unfashionable or massively low owned. Just a surprise, not really in a lot of teams. And I have also thrown in a certain Newcastle striker as well because he's so low owned. I couldn't believe he's actually a differential. So in one, we'll start Dennis Watford. I had no idea who he was. He's apparently Emmanuel Dennis. He cost 5 million. He's a striker. He's got 5 shots in the box, 3 of which were on target, and he scored a goal. What do you think? Is Dennis worth getting in? Seb, what do you reckon?
I mean, I thought Cuca Hernandez would start, but Dennis looked rather useful. He did go off injured, and Cuca came on and scored a goal himself, I believe. So maybe you'd want to keep an eye on his injury situation. Yeah. But yeah, if you are looking for that, and I think Cuca Hernandez is 5.5 as well. So if you are looking for a third striker that isn't someone you start every week, but you know, maybe nice and cheap that you can bench, maybe there's an option there. Okay,
Andy, you'll go next.
Mapei. Oh, that's nice because I'm going to go the exact opposite. I'm going to go, don't go anywhere near him.
No. Fair enough.
They literally have 10 strikers, I think it is, in the games. So all he needs is a bad half or a bad game, and all of a sudden we're not going to see him again for the rest of the season. I just feel like this is almost like that Brewster thing last year where you pay that money for that striker, and then all of a sudden, like 5 million is even worse than 4.5 because if you move to him and then you need to move off him, it's really difficult to. So no, I won't. Nowhere near him.
I put him up there because the things to consider are the fact that he could emerge as the main striker for Watford. If we want Lukaku and Manchester United and Liverpool and City coverage, we're going to have to consider players like Dennis. Dennis is going to have to, you know, menace his way into our team there. But I think I look at his underlying stats there. He's got 5 shots in the box, 3 on target, and I think that's something to look at. But yeah, I remember when Blackpool came up. I can't remember who it was now. Was it? I want to say Baptiste. Was the striker for Blackpool? He came in and
Alex Baptiste.
Could be that. I want to say. Yeah, someone like that. Anyway, he scored loads and the first game week, but then everyone got him in. Well, I say everyone. He was a big bandwagon, but then it never really materialised again. And I feel that Dennis could be one of those. I think we might not have seen the best of Dennis yet. He could be coming back, but interesting. Andy, my man Mapei is next at Brighton.
Oh. I thought you were calling me your man.
Andy, my man. It's Mapei, my other man. Mapei has got a goal, which is great. So hang out the Brighton bunting for that. 4 shots in the box, 2 on target. I think that's really good. You can see his baseline bonus is -4. So not good for bonus. But what do you reckon? I mean, he's maligned. Is it time for a clean slate? He's much maligned, but Brighton have good fixtures. He is the main striker. What do you think? Would you tempt him? 6.5?
No, I still don't think I would be. I'd be more tempted to go with him over Dennis just because it's 6.5. You can move to loads of other players. Are you still being linked with Edouard? I thought he was supposed to be signing soon as well. So that always worries me that they're basically just looking for a reason not to play him, basically. So I'm not a massive fan of him personally.
No, okay. Seb, can't tempt you with Mapei, 6.5.
I mean, he exceeded his XG, so that's something to write home about. But
there we go.
Other than that, we've seen the record with him, haven't we?
Okay, let's go. Tarkowski. Will I get any luck, Seb, with Tarkowski? 5 million defender. Got a goal in him, as was seen at the weekend. What cheeky little differential he is, a goal-scoring defender. What do you think, Tarkowski?
I feel like, when we went through our teams and we've all got a very similar defence. I think I've got Luke Dean, which you don't, but otherwise it's there. I don't know if there's room for him. Like, if Burnley have got a good run of fixtures, if they show some defensive form, which their defence has been a lot poorer than we're used to at the end of last season and the beginning of this. I think they put up something like 3 XGC against. We'll check that later. But I don't know if I'm that excited. So maybe I'd want to wait for a run of form or an opportunity to switch our defence up before I jumped on that.
Okay. Andy, I've got to give you the next one, unless you madly want to talk about Tarkowski.
No,
fair enough. This geezer, Callum Wilson, Newcastle, he scored a goal. To be honest, that's not unexpected because that's what he does. 3 shots inside the box, 2 on target. That's pretty. I'm tempted. He's been hovering in my team anyway. Would you be tempted? Who would go for you if Wilson came in?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it might get to the point if I wait 5-6 weeks and Tony has still done nothing, then I think he's the kind of player where I would be maybe looking to get Callum Wilson in. The problem is, like you said, though, when we're all going to be looking at people like Lukaku and Kane if he eventually moves, is are you really going to be able to have somebody like, Kane or Lukaku and Wilson and Ings or something like that? So are you happy with him being your second striker potentially? Because you're only going to be playing 2 up top. So I love him when he's fit. I think he scores when he's fit, but it's just how long is he going to stay fit?
I want 2 people who haven't been injured for 10 years right next to him if he's going to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what about Armstrong? Seb, what do you think? I know Andy might have a few words about him, but Seb, do you like Armstrong?
I think it's an awkward price point, but
6 million.
Other than that, we know he likes to shoot. He took his goal really, really well, even though it was a mistake from Everton. That's not down to him. The finish was sublime. So again, we'll look at fixtures, we'll look at opportunity. If you fancy Southampton for a run of fixtures and a run of goals, he's there for you. But the one thing for me is at 6.0, it feels like just that 0.5 under where I'd feel like I had a flexible price point. So I'm not looking to get a new in myself.
Where do you run to? We've got Dennis, but then you're starting to look at. Then you start to think, who's playing up front for Crystal Palace? And it's that sort of stage where you think, step away from the keyboard. What about the next one? Souček, Andy.
Yeah, do you know what? He's somebody that I think because Ben Rama is going to start becoming the main man here, unless Lingard goes and then it all becomes very, very muddy. I don't think Souček's going to get you those consistent returns at the moment, just because they're not playing to his strengths anymore. They're playing to Ben Rama's strengths or Lingard's strengths, whoever's going to be playing in that middle pocket. So I like Souček. Obviously, he scored a rebound from a penalty, so you can't really rely on that every week, can you? But he's going to get the odd goal this year.
You
but
basically
I'm
just
not going to
described every goal that Gary Lineker's ever scored, just a rebound off someone's arse.
How much is he in this game?
But yeah, that's the thing. He's in the right place at the right time, though. That's what Souček. I owned in the beginning of last season. A terrible start, except for Souček. If you could isolate Souček for me, I had a great start because I was getting all his goals because I kept playing him.
The interesting thing with Souček is that even though Andy's saying there maybe they've changed how they're going to try and play, he has maintained his 1 goal in 3 appearances. Exactly. All the way through that, and his underlying numbers have stayed almost identical, similar to the rest of the midfield for the end of last season and then obviously last week as well. I guess for me though, if you've got 6 million to spend and want a West Ham midfielder, just who am I going to feel like I have better chance of getting points from? Just who do I want to watch? It's going to be Ben Rama. But I think if you ever wanted to double up, Souček will keep doing it. I
think an intriguing differential that many more veteran managers might ignore because they'll think, he was cheaper last season, he's more this season, so I won't get him. But say for example Stuart Dallas, who got an assist this time round for 5.5 for a midfielder. I think he got an assist. It was such a flurry of goals.
Dallas assisted.
Dallas.
Although that's one of those assisting a wonder goal.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Someone was in the right place at the right time to get on the end of it, and that's what he does. He so he's still getting attacking returns from midfield. Anyway, Decore, the Duke of goal, the Duke of weird goals. He is consistently done this. Does not surprise me to see him here. Anyone getting him in, prepared to be disappointed. But anyone getting him in, prepared for amazing goals once every 5 games, because that's what he does. And I don't know. I'm not tempted myself. Either of you tempted by Decore? But
no, there was talk of him being a bit more attacking, wasn't there? Even maybe a number 10, which I don't think came to pass. I think if you just look at his XG there, 0.11, that probably tells you all you need to know. A goal every 10 matches, give or take.
So the next 2 guys, Norgard, who I once again had to look up and go, who the hell is he? And Canos. So Norgard's, I'm right in saying, a defensive midfielder for Brentford, and Canos is a winger. So I look at these 2 goal scorers for Brentford, both getting 2 shots inside the box. Canos getting 2 on target. Baseline bonus, Canos actually doing really well on that as well, getting 13. So bonus potential over Norgard. So Norgard's someone I would ignore myself as a bandwagon, but Canos 5.5 is someone I'm interested in looking at. Not going to get him in, but watch listed. But any love for these Brentford players who aren't Tony?
I think for me, I do like Canos, and I think I mentioned him last week as well. But I think the opportunity for Mbeumo to sometimes be playing up top means that 5.5 is better spent on him. It looks like, based on how they set up against Arsenal, that they're going to be fluctuating between this 2 up top in 1 up top with the 2 wingers. And with the opportunity of Mbeumo being one of those wingers and also maybe sometimes being the striker. And I love the fact he was the striker and Tony was the one dropping back. I think that's really good for him. So if that's how Mbeumo is going to be used, I'd be spending 5.5 million on him over Canos. Yeah. But Canos is going to have good games, but I feel like the upside's really there with that Mbeumo. Yeah. He looked really good.
Yeah. And
from my blurred haze from when I was watching
in the chat, I mean, I don't know whether these people in the chat are looking at each other's chat, but they're all saying the same joke. But there enough. I'll give them all praise then. Ninja Polar Camel, Squid, and Paul Absalom Sayed are all calling him Ignoregard. So there we go. You've all got the joke there. You nice. All have a look at what each other are saying next time. So just one of you maybe. And
what his mum calls him.
And finally, at the bottom, Pulisic. What a cheeky little differential. He's someone I always ignore, but he does pop up, and he has occasionally gets a massive haul. Is when Chelsea's fixtures get better, Pulisic appealing? Anyone?
I just, maybe I'm wrong. There's so many options there. He's 8 million, which is not overly cheap. I feel like I could just do better with a Chelsea slot. Like, I don't think any week I'd be confident he's going to start. No. Mason Mount, a little bit cheaper, is probably more likely to start. Havertz is probably a little more dangerous. Then there's Lukaku. Then there's a defender. I just don't ever see myself arriving at Pulisic.
No. I've gone off him since I saw that viral video of him, like, standing on a giant fish or something. You see that? And I just look at that and I just thought...
That wasn't great.
I just thought, you're not my kind of person, really. Just standing on a fish. That's not sensible. So Pulisic's out for me, but actually literally for that reason. Also because I really like Mason Mount and he's cheaper. So if I went Chelsea, I would go there or Ziyech or Havertz. I just wouldn't go with a Fishwalker. So let's have a look. So they're my unfashionable ones. Okay, so we're going to look at some more fashionable ones here. So Andy, your team, Manchester United. Yeah. I'm going to put some stats up so you can talk about them, and we'll have a chat about Manchester United. Go for it.
Lovely. I'm just waiting a little bit so the stats come up on my screen as well. But yes, no, I mean, what a result against Leeds. I wasn't expecting that, to be perfectly honest. I even said last week, didn't I thought it was going to be 1-0, maybe even a draw, because I thought Leeds would be much better defensively. I think it was a very depleted Leeds. I don't think that's what we're going to expect from Leeds for the rest of the year. I think they struggle without some of their key defensive assets. But at the same time, I mean, it's just great that United actually put a team to the sword and they came out 5-1 winners. I think the wonder goal kind of took away from the fact that I thought we were quite good defensively as well. I thought we were quite resolute and we didn't give away that many chances, really. I thought Pogba was absolutely incredible, but it is worth mentioning that he played on the left. Yes. So he's not going to be playing on the left every week. So if he might be this week, but I don't think he's going to be playing there. He's going to be dropping back, isn't he?
Okay, so as a Manchester United fan, so Greenwood up front looked impressive, but of course they've got Martial, Cavani can move there. So where would Greenwood go? Because obviously Solskjaer loves him. I would imagine Greenwood would get significant minutes still, but he might not be the main striker. So if he wasn't, where would Greenwood play?
By the way, he did play well, but it is worth mentioning he had one shot on target. That was it. He had
one
shot on target and finished it.
That's all my Mason
needs. It is all he needs, but in a 5-1 win, it's Bruno's the main man, isn't it? There were people out there thinking Greenwood could cover Bruno, and that kind of talk.
I tell you what, there were some really savvy managers out there who decided to get both, and I think they.
Who are they, Joe?
I think they're the ones that deserve our praise. But
I thought that was a serious start for a bit. Then I was like, oh really? And I was like, oh right, I know what you're saying now. But no, I love Greenwood. I really do love Greenwood. I feel like I said at the beginning, I think he's going to have a couple of games in him. And when he plays well, yes, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does tend to play him and when he's in good form. But he's also very good at managing him as well and not playing him too much. I feel like because Sancho's going to be coming back into this team, he could always play Pogba on the left. I mean, I think Pogba's going to drop back, and it's going to be one of McTominay or Fred that drop back in. Probably going to be McTominay out and Fred comes back in. I mean, this Southampton team's there for the taking, isn't it? So it's going to be. We're thinking that it should be quite a few goals in this one.
So if Greenwood was, I mean, I'm saying there's vested interest with Greenwood.
Yeah. So I'm not really answering your question, am I?
Where would he be? Because Solskjaer's talked about his versatility as an attacking player. So he was fudging the question of, basically the questioner, like journalists do, was pretty much saying, hey, that Greenwood, he's replaced Cavani, hasn't he, and Martial. But that's not the case. So would Greenwood play on the right, the left?
Yeah, so it depends which wing he basically favours Sancho playing, because Sancho's the one he's going to fit in more importantly, I would say. So whichever wing that Sancho goes on, Greenwood will go on the other one. Right. The problem is obviously when Rashford comes back in, but that's a little way off yet. I think it will be, Cavani and Martial will be favoured still up top.
What do you think about Pogba though? Even if he goes centrally, because he's still pretty handy,
No, if he's central, the problem is with Fred and McTominay, they need to play together because they're not good enough at the moment individually. That's why we've been looking for someone like Rice. You need someone like Rice or Calvin Phillips Seb or someone like that, where they can do that job by themselves, and that's why you need both of them. And when Pogba's back there, unfortunately, he just drops deep too much because he's having to do that work. So as soon as he's dropping back in, which could easily be the next game, and probably will be, to be perfectly honest, I think he's off the table for me. He's incredible, but you can't rely on him to be playing on that left and be involved in the game that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Seb, but you sort. I mean, as a Leeds fan, obviously, not great to watch that, but with your fantasy hat on, looking at Manchester United, through your tears, did you see any Manchester United players that you either do or don't want now?
Honestly, I don't know how much we learned from that match. So, and as you say, of course, my Leeds brain is screaming at me. But trying to look at it objectively, that wasn't all that different to the 6-2. Sure, we were missing Calvin Phillips, but Calvin Phillips played in the 6-2 and was subbed at half-time. It was just the same match. Man United's runners from deep are not what we could handle. We played poorly in the middle. Rodrigo is not meant for the midfield, especially in those matches. Sure, we were missing a centre-back. I think Man United put up an XG of about 1.5, but it's one match and there was some brilliant finishing. So not saying they shouldn't have won or anything like that. They took us apart, but I think it was as much down to us. And then the combination of the two teams, I think just Man United on song and Leeds not playing well is the perfect combination for Man United to put us to the sword. I don't think that necessarily reflects what is going to happen to Leeds or even what Man United are going to do next, because the way they're playing, which is, I don't think Solskjaer has particularly set up to play us in any particular fashion. It's just the way he likes his players to go out and express themselves. Individual quality trumps us. So we'll have to see going forward whether Man United can continue.
Something I noticed in both of the games against Leeds and Manchester United and Fernandes just seemed to... They sort of opened the door for him in defensive midfield. Really. They didn't have like a Basuma or a Kante just nicking the ball off him. There was no. So do you think that was Leeds? So that was Leeds' problem, and do you think Southampton might also have that problem against?
I mean, obviously Southampton. I think they conceded about 2-3 XGC the first match as well, so not great. No. There could be points there, but generally looking ahead into the season, the way Leeds obviously man mark, we know this, even though with a bit of a flirtation with zona marking with Dallas sometimes. The way Bruno moves is too good for Robin Koch. It was too good for him. It pulled him out of position. It allows McTominay just to come straight to the middle of the midfield. McTominay's fine. He's a good midfielder. That's it. Against us, he's world class. Like if he played Leeds every week, there would be no need for a new DM at Man United's team. Just the way that Man United are set up, which is promoting individual quality, really does trump anything we can put up against them.
So Koch just couldn't block him. Andy, looking at the rest of the team there, what do you think? I mean, he got 1 point. So
he did. He got booked, didn't he?
So do our Shaw owners think we've made a mistake here? Do we think there's better?
He was fine. It just wasn't his game when he managed to get an attack and return, to be honest. He was still getting forward like he does. I think he might be slow to start in terms of attack and returns based on the fact he had the Euros and he hasn't had a rest, so he's come straight back in. I think if Tellez was available, Shaw wouldn't be playing. But I think Shaw's fine. I'm not looking at him in my team and thinking, I need to get rid of him anytime soon.
Seb, you as well with Shaw?
Shaw stays. Shaw, I don't know what his stats were, but I think he looked impressive enough, right? He got forward, maybe not as much as always, but when he did, he looked real dangerous. There was a nice little foray into the penalty area, if I remember.
Okay, yeah. So both of you, big thumbs up for sure. That gives me a bit of comfort when I look at that 1 point. And, could have got more. But yeah, I look at that new blood coming into the Manchester United defence. Do we think that there's clean sheet potential there? So looking at Shaw, not necessarily just for the assist, but could the likes of him and Maguire be quite lucrative for clean sheets?
I've said for a while that I feel like United are set up to improve more defensively this year than any other team. I think we got 10 or 11 clean sheets last year. We just kept conceding silly goals. So I think we could easily increase that by 4, 5, 6. So then we could be up there with, Chelsea and Man City from last year, who kept a ridiculous amount of clean sheets. I feel like Varane's not going to come in this week. We had a friendly today. Maguire played.
I know. It was Burnley, wasn't it?
Yeah, against Burnley, and he scored as well.
Now Lingard played there. Was that just to please him, or were they shop windowing him for West Ham?
I think a bit of both. I think it was a fitness thing, and I think it was I think they were. I think he's still going to go. I can't see him staying. I still think he'll go.
He's too good for the
I
bench,
think Varane will come in our third game week. Personally, I think it'll still be Lindelof this week. But I need to see it from us a little bit first, because we love conceding silly goals. We do it every time. But Shaw's good because he gets attack and returns as well. So
yeah, it is. It is what it is with Manchester United. Okay, the final question really, and it's the biggie, and it's the one that I was talking to Tom about today on the captaincy video. I just thought Mo Salah, go for the captaincy for him. He's at home to Burnley. And then Fernandes outscores him last week. And then he's got Southampton, who he traditionally does well against. And they looked good. So what do you think? I mean, we'll talk about captaincy a bit later, but just early thoughts really on Fernandes for the captaincy. I mean, it could be the better option. What do you think?
Right. Shall I go first then?
Right. Roll your sleeves up. Right.
Whichever you say, I'll just take the other angle.
Well, that's lovely. That's fine. So, I haven't completely decided yet, but I'm going to go with the Bruno side. So, for me, when I can't believe
you've gone with Bruno. What a terrible, terrible decision.
When I'm looking at both of them, I feel like it's two different captaincies. I feel like I've got Salah, who, if you told me who do you think is most likely to return, it's probably Salah. Yeah. Who's the most reliable captain? It's probably Salah. But which player has got the biggest upside in terms of who could haul the most? And it's probably Bruno. Southampton, and especially their manager, when it starts going wrong, if we score early against Southampton, it could be an absolute bloodbath again. He does not know how to stop a mauling. Yeah. Whereas Burnley could set up defensively, but Salah could score the one goal and the 1-0 win. So it's really which way you want to go.
What do you think, Seb? Because you've probably seen the same stats I saw as well about Burnley's defence being rubbish and Southampton's defence being rubbish. So
yeah, I mean, the Burnley one's quite a good example of, we spoke about this last season, where we get an idea in our mind and it takes a while for us to disabuse ourselves of that. Burnley's defence hasn't been good for a while. Their attack has improved. They conceded 1.73 XGC, according to the stats in the Fantasy Football Scout members area, to Brighton as well. With all due respect, Joe, that's not Man United, it's not Man City. Now, Southampton also conceded just over 2 XGC to Everton, but I'd say that's probably about on a par. And I know a lot of people have been looking at Salah hasn't performed against Burnley in the past. I think he has 1 goal and 2 assists in 8 matches, but he's done that from 0.99 every match. So it averages out at 0.99 per match. So you could argue he's just been unfortunate. I don't think there's a clear-cut choice by any means, and especially the performance we saw at the weekend is going to make you maybe tilt towards Fernandes. But he did overperform his numbers. Of course, as you do when you score a hat-trick, you basically can't not. But maybe it's a toss of the coin. I might go Salah simply because I was going Salah already, and I maybe don't want to knee-jerk out of it because Fernandes put in a great performance, which I don't know if he's going to repeat again. Salah also performed really well. He could have got more points if he fancied it.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to stick with Salah, but I know that on Friday night and Saturday morning, that's my window where I could change And what would go through my head strategically was, they're both really well owned, is that largely the Manchester United fans are going to go for their man, but then more people are going to go for Salah because he's at home, and they just probably got it in their mind to do that anyway. And as Andy pointed out, there is that possibility that Salah could blank, and I can't fathom a world where Fernandes blanks against Southampton away. There's points, I don't know how many, but I can see early kickoff looking at the score and it's saying 2 points Salah.
Is this a week, Andy, is this a week where you just go, like Joe said, effective ownership, you either play it safe or play it slightly riskier? Is that a tiebreaker for us here?
Yeah, do you know what? I did look at it. I did look at it and think, is this the kind of thing we're just overthinking?
Yeah.
Like, Salah at home against Burnley. Also, home fans. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Yeah.
This is one of their first games back. It is the first game back at Anfield with fans. It is going to be absolutely buzzing there. Does that make a difference to our thinking? I've tried my hardest this year to say I'm going to keep it simple. And actually, is this the kind of decision where I need to be keeping it simple and just Salah at home at Burnley? It makes sense.
Well, it's like, look, you were saying about like the Mane, which I said on the last Scoutcast, I thought Mane was a good call. And then you went for Fernandes and it proved fruitful. But it's that right call. It's just like, is this the time to start taking risks to play around, or do we, do we accept, the big hauls that are coming? And it's clear there, and I think it is a problem, and I think for certain types of managers who will have that sort of maverick tendency, and I know through the Meet the Manager videos, certain ones who will look at this and they will see captaining Fernandes as a potential opportunity to steal maybe a 10 to 15 point march on Salah captainers. I don't know. I'm not that man to do that. But
realistically, I feel like, just to put this out there before it happens and before we all get the decision wrong, this is a close one. And of course, one of them could score a hat-trick and the other one could blank. And after the fact, we'll all feel very silly or very clever. But I think it's important to remember this is really close, and I don't know if there's a bad call here, unless someone's seen something I haven't. It may just come down to the toss of the coin,
As long as you own both, by the way, I should say.
Yeah.
As long
That's
as you
a
own
good
both,
point, well
I think
made.
you're fine. If you don't own Bruno, I know a lot of people wanted to, redo the mistake they made by not getting Bruno, and he's already gone up. So it's as long as you own both, whichever one you captain it, it's just hopefully it works out the way you want it to.
That's a really good point there, because so for example, I'm a Mason Greenwood owner, but I could be a Jota owner. So say I was a Jota, Salah and Trent owner, then I would be tempted to maybe go for Fernandes because I've got so much coverage in that game. I maybe have got the scorer and the assister of certain goals. But I feel with Manchester United, I think I've got enough with Shaw, Greenwood and Fernandes, because there's potential of getting Fernandes assisting Greenwood, for example.
So you would hedge your bets effectively.
Yeah, I'm hedging my bets.
Going against the one you put three players from.
But the other thing that Andy mentioned there about the price rises, Pogba has gone up, Fernandes gone up. Greenwood is it was on about 40% last time I saw. Basically, Manchester United, because of their global following, all they have to do is sneeze on the pitch, and they're gonna rocket in price.
They do, yeah.
Just people watch out for this, because it might take new FPL managers by surprise, just how massive Manchester United are globally.
I remember when Anthony Martial joined, and I don't know if he scored in his debut or something, but he scored a couple of really nice goals, I think against Liverpool. And I think it was Granville at the time that pointed it out. He immediately went up, 0.1, 0.2, whatever it was, because Man United striker, big fee coming in.
I remember
points,
that week
exploded.
he got him in because because he's a Manchester United fan, but he got him in because he felt, and one of the things he said if he scores, that's it, he's going to rocket in price.
Which is interesting to keep in mind for Sancho. I mean, we saw almost nothing from him the weekend, but if he starts cementing a place,
if Sanchez starts and scores, he'll be, what's he, 9.5? He could be 10 million within 2 weeks. Yeah. Not a problem for Manchester United fans. I mean,
just in the form of narrative, by the way, it could happen that Salah and Bruno both blank and Mane gets the hat trick. So just because a few people have sold Mane to get Bruno back now. So it could happen. That's how this kind of stuff happens.
I think there's going to be more managers staying firm, but it warms my heart to know that people are getting rid of Mane before he's at home to Burnley, who he has scored against many times, I think. But yeah, I mean, we'll come to our decisions a bit later, but I mean, I don't think it would be a massive spoiler to say I'm certainly going to do nothing, and I think you two are going to do nothing as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think there will be more managers, because managers are getting more patient and more savvy, which is annoying. So anyone listening and watching, if you've got Salah, Fernandes, just get rid of them. Just make that move. Take a hit, you know. Let's move on to the next subject. So I was talking about bandwagons, and most of them were a bit rubbish. Andy's talked about Manchester United, very valid bandwagons, and we've seen what happens with these guys once they start scoring. They rocket in price. So Seb, I've got a couple of slides here. Underachievers and overachievers. Which one do you want first?
Oh, whichever one you got first, my friend.
I shall put underachievers first.
Go for it.
Okay, so on this on this slide here, these are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. And yeah, do you want to explain this, Seb, and also why the hell is Traore and his oily arms at top of it?
Sure, that's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Traore, oily arms. Sure, why not? So this is specifically, you've got XG underachievers here. In the members area, you can see XGI underachievers as well, which will bring assists into it. So someone like Pogba might start appearing on the overachiever one. But what this shows us is, from the chances they had in this match, one match only so far, what they were expected to do in front of goal. So Traore was expected to score 0.81 goals. I'm aware you can't do that, so let's round up to 1.
Yeah.
But because he didn't score, we're seeing a difference here of 0.81. Of course, the massive caveat here is it's one match, so there's nothing concrete we can take from this, and we shouldn't.
So
it should start becoming more interesting over the weeks.
So he's the most likely scorer amongst those that didn't score, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that's a way of looking at it. Although you could have scored, so Antonio's on there as well. He scored, but mostly because he missed a penalty. So he also underperformed what he should have returned. Ooh. But just to really hammer home the point, and we know I like these numbers, but right now this is just for interest. It'll get more useful over the weeks. Yeah. We need more data. When we look at overachievers, for example, Bruno Fernandes massively overachieved, but show me someone who scores a hat-trick who doesn't overachieve.
So who from this list here do you think of the underachievers? It's really early days, so these are really small figures on one game week. It's a really minor thing, but who of these do you think has the potential to be, for those that wanted to make a transfer, perhaps they'd want to remove Gundogan, it looks like he's injured, or they may just have someone they just hate suddenly. Which of this list do you think are actual genuine contenders for a transfer?
So I think the useful thing to do here is to combine it with our eye test. So, who looked good and who also, according to the numbers, had a good chance. And so we think they're going to repeat it and get more of those chances and maybe have gone under the radar a little. We also maybe want to look a bit at past performance. So we know Traore maybe isn't the best finisher, and actually in the past doesn't actually have that much of a high XG. So there's a chance this is just one good match where he didn't score and he's not going to repeat that.
Okay.
But then we start looking at people like Antonio. He did score, but he could have done better. Obviously, the missed penalty comes into that. But Jared Bowen, I kind of like the look of. I know we've got Ben Rama, but when we were watching him as well, a lot of that chance that he's missed there, the 0.55, is going to be down to that, probably not quite one-on-one, but he got into the area really well and a little bit off balance, put one straight at the keeper. If he can slot that under the keeper, he's obviously would have then overperformed because it isn't a completely clear-cut chance. But someone like that is interesting. And then the other way that maybe it's useful is looking at Torres, looking at Mahrez, who, despite City not looking that great, they've both come out with, about half a goal here. Yeah, so there is something for them in the future.
I think if I had Gundogan, I would look at Torres as my replacement because he's 0.5 cheaper. But I look at that and I think, but he could, if he's not up top, if Jesus is, he'll be on the side. I mean, he's against Norwich.
I guess the only fear is with KDB coming back in, there's just a chance he drops out.
It's just a chance, but I just think is that one. I mean, there is always a danger of just being like sort of lazy with a transfer and just going, which player of the same price or which player of the same team shall I get in? But I do genuinely think City are have got Norwich at home, so we know what's coming. I mean, Andy, I can't remember. You've got Mahrez in your.
I do.
So it warms your heart to see him here. He underachieved. Could have got more.
Yeah, it's really. Obviously, I don't want to mention Pep Roulette because obviously, we mention that every time we mention City players. It's good that obviously he's on there and he's created that kind of XG, but sometimes I feel like Pep will pick a team based on who they're going up against, won't he? And if he's got those players back, Seb's already mentioned they're going to have KDB back as well, but Gundogan's out, so maybe that helps, maybe not. I feel like they could have a field day against Norwich. Norwich did look very poor defensively, didn't they, against Liverpool? Yeah. So I feel like they could do well. I just never have the utmost confidence in City because it could be that they're on the bench that day for no reason whatsoever. So I would say he's probably going to be looking at that game and thinking, I need to take somebody out and bring somebody else back in. And I would probably say Torres. I mean, Torres played well. That's the problem. Yeah. I thought Torres led the line quite well. And he didn't get taken off, did he? I think he stayed on.
Yeah.
He stayed on the whole time, didn't he? So.
And he has been spoken about by Pep as a striker. And it's probably a bit of kidology because over Kane. But, he has said, we don't need a striker. They do. But, they've said, we've got Jesus and Torres. In fact, he mentioned Torres before Jesus a couple of times. Yeah. So, one thing...
And it's interesting to say as well, by the way, Mahrez was going to be taken off, but he was just about to take the free kick. So he lasted an extra 5-10 minutes, something like that. But he was going to be taken off at about 62, something like that, which is close. Not great viewing, really.
Did you notice that Jota had like a slow walk back? He got hooked at 59. But
I don't like him.
He edged over 60. That's why I do like him because, and he was almost saying, "Come on, FPL managers, am I going to make it? Am I going to speed up?" And then he slowed down. So,
and then what happened? Firmino came on and scored a goal.
Yeah, so that's the end of that. Yeah. I've just said it before with Jota. I don't mind 20 minutes of Jota because he's an attacking role. So I always think the same with the likes of Torres and Mahrez as well. Here's something just linked in with Mahrez before we look at the overachievers. It was something that's been pointed out around the internationals coming up and around the quarantine period. And I think it's 10 days. So I think essentially if they're in a red list country, they've got to sit in a hotel on their PlayStation for 10 days somewhere. So and that is going to apply to a lot of Brazilian players, but also Salah. And game week 3, Son against Watford looks like a really good captaincy shout. Some Salah owners will be thinking, well, hang on a minute, he's playing Chelsea and then he could potentially miss game week 4. So should I get Son in? I could get a captaincy there. But for Mahrez owners, they have the option of moving Mahrez to Son. So in that scenario, that narrative, Andy, as a Mahrez owner, when you look at game week 3 and you think, oh, actually, Son's talked about a lot here. In fact, he could be the best captain. Who makes way for you, Mahrez or Salah?
Mahrez. That's the move I've planned in my head.
You've got to find a million. Where'd you get the million from?
Yeah, do you know what? I was looking at it the other day, and it's Ings really, but it's a 1 week too early for Ings, which is what upsets me a little bit. Ings didn't look great. This team looked very kind of like they were new. Like there was a lot of new parts to this team, and I think Ings' XG didn't look that bad.
You need a million then. So have you already got 10?
Oh yeah, he had like one shot. It was just the penalty. So which obviously gives you a decent.
You need to move down to a 6 million striker. So you need
Ings is 8.
Well, let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of unfashionable. I'll go back to this slide again. Unfashionable, cheap strikers. You're going to need one if you're going to get rid of Mahrez for Son. You need a million from Ings.
Yeah, I'm not against mini wildcarding in game week 3, by the way. So I could do a -4.
You don't need to take hits or wildcard. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
I think he's trying to ruin your team,
Andy. I think he is.
With Neil Maupay,
team to ruin, not mine.
in a Brighton squad with great fixtures, in scoring, Maupay 6.5.
I am not getting Maupay. I would be more than likely going to be getting Armstrong rather than Maupay. I tell you that right now. I would rather go down to Armstrong.
Okay.
Allow me to throw one in the ring then, because he was relevant to the tables as well. So not just XG, but XGI. Smith Rowe comes up there. He had 0.49. So if you were to think of that as a percentage, he had a 49% chance of getting a goal or assist. Obviously, you round that down to 0 because return's going to be binary. So you could say he wasn't meant to return. But I think it's game week 4, his fixtures turn, so it might be a week early. But 5.5 for Smith Rowe is an interesting one for me to maybe try and enable some other players.
Yeah, okay. So there's some options here. There's some options coming in. I mean, I just think because there are going to be a lot of Mahrez owners and Salah owners who are looking at this thinking, what do we do if we want Son? And what you described there is exactly borrow $1 million from Ings.
Yeah.
Where do you go? And so that's where we could perhaps be starting to think of something a little bit different. So hopefully fashionable thing will catch on in a week or two. We'll start seeing some Dennises and the such like. Hey Seb, my next slide.
Hey Joe, how did you win FPL this year? Oh, that's right. You just told everyone to get more pay. I don't remember.
Yeah. So everyone got more pay except me. I just stuck with Salah, and I just got Son in anyway. And I won it. So anyway, the next slide says Overachievers. So
sure.
Fernandez is top. He overachieved. So help the audience and me understand this.
So of course, again, same caveat. One match. This is interesting rather than anything we should build conclusions from. Let's look back in a couple of weeks at the very least, and let's combine it with our eye test. Obviously, a player scoring a hat-trick, you're pretty much always going to overperform your XG. To score a hat-trick in 90 minutes, you've got to finish well. It's important to remember that XG is just the average for a player at that level, give or take. Right. Fernandez, we think, is above average, if not elite. So he should always overperform his XG, and that means it's working. It tells us that Fernandez is a great player. Obviously, with this hat-trick as well, he's going to overperform it by quite a bit. And I think the one thing to keep in mind here is one of those finishes was brilliant, looked great. So, he had to put it away well. So that's going to be a relatively low chance. And that one that Ayling nearly cleared off the line. Now, I don't know how that comes up in the models, but arguably Fernandez shouldn't have scored that, if you know what I mean. Okay. Like Ayling did clear it. He was just a centimetre too late. So I wonder if a lot of it comes from that chance. Now, Fernandez, fair enough, scored a goal. But in terms of the numbers, it's probably going to show up that wasn't a great opportunity.
So when I often look at the overachievers, as you said, you look at the players. So obviously, Messi would be overachieving and so on. But then you look at some of those other players like that we've already mentioned, Decore, Canos. Fred has wormed his way in there. And of course, our favourite Luke Ayling is there. So Andy, you look at this list here of overachievers here. Does it put you off any players? Or does it make you think, well, I don't, like with Fernandez, good players should overachieve.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Bruno. Yeah, but I completely agree with what Seb says. He's just such an elite finisher, and the way he plays the game, he's always going to overachieve what he's doing. The one that I was interested in, but I don't think he is going to be long term. Was that Chalobah? He did look good for Chelsea, but I don't think he's going to be long term, is he? I think he was just a bit of a stopgap this week.
Just reminds me of Tomori, who kind of did a similar thing, scored the goal, and then wasn't really ever an option.
Yeah, he did look good though. Took his goal really well as well. But no, I mean, I looked down this list, and this to me looks like almost the list of you shouldn't really be investing in these players because they've scored when they probably shouldn't have. The only one probably is Cresswell, isn't it? Where we spoke about him before, whereas I preferred Soufal personally because of that extra 0.5 million. But Cresswell is somebody that will be taking those set pieces and will be getting those attack returns every now and again. But I mean, the rest of them they're nowhere near my watch list.
I think a nice way to think of this is whenever you look at just a single game week in isolation, Luke Ayling, for example, has a 0.09 XG there. That effectively means that the goal he scored would be scored 1 in 10 times. Well, someone's got to score it 1 in 10 times, so that was the 1 in 10. If he takes that shot another 9 times, we would not expect him to score. No. So he's already put it up. I'm not saying that means he would win the future.
I always think with a 4.5 defender, who you'd be, you and other people looking at the stats last season, he was due a goal. I mean, that whole phrase, due a goal. He could have scored. He could have got attacking returns. And
there's always a nice thing when someone massively underachieves their XG and then scores from a really low XG chance. Yeah, it feels cosmic.
I mean, the XG nuts. He's the poster boy for the XG crowd, as Neil Maupay is as well. Let's move on and have a look at the next 4 fixtures. I've just noticed that our ranks have dropped off the slide. I do apologise for that. That's not deliberate. It has been, but that's not deliberate. That means that I've used a different template previously. So apologies for not seeing our ranks. They'll be back. They'll be back again for one of the next slides, I hope. But looking at the next 4 fixtures, Brentford are top. So they've got their tough game out of the way, which they won. They've got Crystal Palace, Villa, Brighton and Wolves coming up next. So 4 great fixtures. Man City have got Norwich, and then they've got a couple of tough ones, and then Southampton at home. So Man City are second now. So this is why people should be considering the likes of Mahrez rather than getting rid of them. Tottenham, yeah, Wolves, Watford, Crystal Palace. Then they got Chelsea. But then further down, we got Norwich, terrible fixtures. So Chelsea, terrible fixtures. But they have got Lukaku coming back, and their defence is looking great. Southampton down there as well, with Manchester United and City, with Newcastle and West Ham in the middle. So Newcastle okay, but yeah, and Leicester. So this is why Harvey Barnes is sort of got a stay of execution for me. Got West Ham, but then Norwich. I want to keep him for that. But then City, and then Brighton away. So I don't know if he'll get tremendous amount of scoring returns in 4 and 5. But yeah, I mean, either you two, look at these next 4. Anything spring to mind?
After you, Andy.
One thing that I tweeted about today, I am more than happy to stick with Tony. I feel like I actually saw a lot of people saying they were quite worried that he dropped back and things like that. But I think with Brentford's fixtures, I can see him scoring goals and I can see him starting quite well. Yes, it was a little bit worrying, but like we've already covered, I feel like they're going to be, he's going to be starting to score goals in that run. But if at the end of that run he isn't scoring any goals, then you can start getting a little bit worried. Yeah. I will be touching on my I will be touching my differential. I will be talking
lucky
about
or
my
unlucky differential.
Not
could
licking your differential.
You're going to licking your. Now, hang on a minute. I've seen loads of pictures on Twitter of you licking people at Fantasy Football Fest. What's that?
Didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
No, it was somebody with a mask.
Okay.
No, I think that my differential that I'll be talking about later, I don't want to reveal him yet, but he plays for Man City. But I mean, looking at those fixtures looks absolutely beautiful. Seb's very annoyed that I've got this differential, actually.
Oh yeah. There was a full-on fight.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, and then like you've said about Spurs, bringing Son in for game week 3 and game week 4, Watford and then Crystal Palace looks like. And I was a little bit worried about Son personally. I thought without Kane he might struggle, but he was their main man, wasn't he? He was doing everything. He was taking set pieces. A goal he scored was brilliant as well. So what an advert, hardest opponent you could possibly have, and he scores the winning goal and gets you 10 points. So those are the main ones there. I think Tony, touch on in a minute, and then and Son for me, it looked like great options.
Looking at that, well, I mentioned that Son and Salah move as well. So Liverpool, game week 3, got Chelsea at home. Chelsea defence. I'm certainly not going to be captaining Salah then. And meanwhile, Son, who could do well against Wolves, in which case he's going to be even more enticing. He's got Watford at home and then Crystal Palace away. Meanwhile, Salah may even miss game week 4. For Liverpool, because he's playing Leeds anyway, so I don't know. I mean, who knows? Fernandes got joy there, but presumably the likes of Phillips will be back for Leeds. I don't know whether that will affect it, but if Salah's not playing, so got 1 game against Chelsea versus 2 games for Son, of which they're both arguably captainable, but certainly game week 3 is captainable. But that's the thing I picked out from there. But Seb, you look at the fixtures and any thoughts? Because we're going to start thinking about transfers soon.
Sure. I mean, I think you've both covered that wonderfully. But for me, the thing that always is interesting about this is trying to identify when things change. So obviously not all on the screen here, but we know Chelsea in game week 7 start looking real attractive. But you can start seeing like the seeds of fixture changes on here already with people like, I think it's Wolves in game week 4. They're towards the top there, but it starts getting really good in game week 4. Possibly presenting us Danny Ings alternative in Jimenez. And I forget who the other one, Arsenal. That's the one, I believe. I think they turn in about game week 4 as well. So I mentioned him already. Yeah. Smith Rowe, potentially there for me, Buendia or whoever. So it's always interesting just to keep them on the horizon and see, can we start planning ahead if you need to facilitate us on, for example.
Definitely.
Also, you mentioned Arsenal there, by the way. Kieran Tierney looked, although they lost to Brentford, he looked very, very good.
Posted up on Friday, most chances, and I believe he's still the most chances the game week.
He appeared on those XGI underperformers as well, I believe, literally just behind Smith Rowe, minus 0.46. So
very good.
If he did that every game, we might expect a goal or assist every other game.
Also looking at this, it helps us if we want to pick some differentials. And so I'll go first. We're all going to pick one this time round. And so I picked Dele Alli last time. In true tradition, I picked Dele Alli every game week 1. And in true tradition, he fails me. So let's hope Dele Alli succeeds for those that took the Dele Alli path. But my one is my main regret. And I look at those fixtures: Brentford, Crystal Palace, Villa, Brighton and Wolves. They are clean sheet, there are bonus potential and save points. Of course, it's Raya, who's my main regret. Mentioned I should have got him in. Could be the best 4.5 goalkeeper, and I really like the look of him. People are reluctant to make a goalkeeper move, but with that amount of points, routes to points he could get. So, for example, if you've got Sanchez, you could get a clean sheet against Watford, although they look pretty pacey in attack. But it could be that they away from home, Watford are a little bit more defensive. But nevertheless, they got Everton with everyone aiming at Calvert-Lewin, and then they got Brentford, who are looking very attacking. And then they got Leicester. So I don't know what I'm going to get out of Sanchez. I could be getting four. Trying to count. I could be getting 8 points across 4 fixtures. Whereas I look at Raya, and I could be getting maybe 20, 25 points across those 4 fixtures if there's clean sheets and bonus and saves. So it's not cool. It's not sexy going for Raya, but you know, all about people who got Martinez last season. You know, I remember it being a boring move, and then suddenly everyone wanted Martinez because he was getting those big hauls. Anyway, that's my one. Any love for Raya before you talk about yours?
Honestly, I kind of hadn't really considered him.
I know you.
No
one's as boring as me. No one has.
Yeah, you make a good case. I'd maybe need to remind myself of what Brentford were like defensively in the Championship. I mean, I'm not gonna move Sanchez to Raya. That feels like a transfer wasted. But if I needed a goalkeeper, I guess I'd have a look now after your argument made for him.
He was third in the BPS, which bonus point system for Brentford. So that means, you know, he's in the running for bonus points there, and only Canos and Pinnock pipped him, and I don't think they're going to do that every week. So he's in with a chance, I think, most weeks. But amongst goalkeepers, now this is quite good. Just one got more than his 30 BPS, and that's Schmeichel. So anyway, Raya, 3.2% ownership. If you want to get some points and be boring, Raya.
Worth mentioning, by the way, quality of opposition. He's not going to be able to play against Arsenal every week, is he?
No, he's not. He's got much better teams. And he's got much better teams. Andy, come on then. Who have you picked for your differential?
Yeah, my differential is under 3% own. I'm well happy. My differential is Kevin De Bruyne.
Who's he?
Yeah, I know. He's a young Belgian lad. He's doing quite well at the moment.
Yeah.
I spoke about this last week with Mane. To me, the perfect differentials you can ever pick are players that you know can do really, really well. You know can haul when you want them to, have a beautiful fixture, and they are, you know, under 5% owned. And this guy's under 3% owned. So just ridiculous. If he's back for Norwich, which I'm assuming he's going to be, especially after what happened against Spurs as well. I mean, if we're thinking, all I've got visions in my head is that Watford game when they won 8-0, and he had an absolute field day, didn't he? So, for me, I feel like he is a perfect kind of differential to bring in. How are you going to fit him in with Bruno and Salah in your team already? Obviously, it might be impossible, but I still just think for me, differential, perfect, lovely. Without having to think about how to fit him in, he's lovely.
Now, you as a Mahrez and Salah owner have the option in game week 3 to spend a hit, do a mini wild card, just one hit, and have De Bruyne and Son and someone else, some numpty. But you can do that with just 4 points, and you've got 2 great captains for those 2 weeks, definitely.
Could do, couldn't I?
There we go. I'm not here next week, so that's my teaser for you to do. That's what I would be saying to do. Anyway, Seb, what do you reckon about this? What's he called? De Bruyne, was it? Keith De Bruyne? What do you reckon?
I mean, I think I've made my feelings on him clear in the past. Yeah, great shout. Wish I'd got there first.
Yeah, snooze, you lose.
Exactly. I think he looked good when he came on as well. Of course, we'd expect that. But it's probably the one time in the match where Man City looked like they might do something. I think he had one shot from range, tried to put a couple of balls, over like he does. You'd imagine from 90 minutes against poorer opposition, he'll get returns.
Yeah. So who's your differential?
Sure. So I reeling from my inability to pick KDB. I went through a few options, looked at Sterling. He's only 3%. I feel like we've said that before, and I feel like it hasn't worked before. So I didn't pick him just because I don't think anyone's going to try and get him in their team. If you've got that money, you're probably going to go for De Bruyne and the Salah and Fernandes. So I started looking a little bit cheaper. I like Ricardo Pereira, but their fixtures aren't perfect. And then it came down to Coleman or Mbeumo for me, who are 0.7% and 1.2% owned respectively. And I really can't choose, so I will hand it over to you two to choose for me. The argument for Coleman being he's a little bit cheaper than Luka Dean, I believe. I don't know if Everton are bringing in a right back anymore. Denzel Dumfries has gone to Winter. If they're looking for those crosses and they've got decent fixtures, he could be there to rack up some points.
So the choice is a very elderly Irishman who plays for a really iffy team.
Iffy team? I think Everton looks solid.
Well, sometimes they I mean, iffy as in they can look really good and then Pickford will just have a howler and then they lose 2-0. Or a really attacking guy in an attacking team. And this is the moment to get from a promoted side. This is the bit where they're all cock a hoop about playing with the big boys.
So your vote goes to Brian Mbeumo.
My vote goes to
he looked really useful.
To the attacking guy full of confidence in a confident team. So yeah, that's my vote.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, Mbeumo all day long. I don't want that. I was literally about to say the same argument. I want the aging Irishman.
Yeah, I could really do with an aging Irishman right now.
Yeah.
it's only 4 matches. He's not going to age that much. But yeah, okay, fair enough. Brian Mbeumo is my pick, and if it goes wrong, I get to blame you two. So thank you so very much.
This will be the week Coleman gets his annual 15-pointer. We talked you out of it. Hey, talking of pressure on, we're managing Alex Braithwaite's team. So I'll tell you his score. I'll put up what I'm sort of looking at for next week, so we can discuss that. So this is his team. This is what his team is for Game Week 2, and we had some success in Game Week 1 with him. So Alex Braithwaite, he's taking a break from FPL for mental health reasons. Did not want to delete his team, so I offered to take it on. And so it's a Scoutcast team. So we will collectively decide, hopefully, on a Friday, what we'll do with the transfers. He's never finished outside the top 100k, and last year was 84th in the world. So no pressure. By the way, our ranks have finally come back, so I've used the correct template for this section of the video. So hooray for that. So for his initial team, we removed Saka for Barnes. So that didn't work out then, but I still think that was potentially a good move. Definitely moving Saka out before Game Week 4 when Arsenal's fixtures get better. And we removed Veltman, who was actually isolating, so didn't play at all, for Tsimikas, who got him 6 points. So he got 96 points. So we haven't ruined his team. We've in fact improved it slightly. So I'm looking at his team now. We've got Sanchez, Shaw, Alexander-Arnold, Tsimikas, Salah with the captaincy on it, Fernandes, then Barnes and Buendia, Ings, Antonio, and Tony, the Tony brothers. And then on the bench, he's got Ayling, Akufau, Brownhill, and Steele as a backup for Sanchez. I'm tempted to do nothing, just keep it. And then Game Week...
On the image here, have I got Bachmann rather than Steele on the bench?
Let's have a look. Yes, sorry, he's got Bachmann on the bench. So, although we have our ranks back, there was my one mistake for this template is to have.
You've done brilliantly, mate. You've done brilliantly. You're allowed one.
It's just the 2 days on Photoshop to get these mistakes done. But Steele it should be Bachmann there. So I have indeed. Yeah, he would still be on the bench though. Bachmann. I think Sanchez at home, just go for the home guy.
But they play each other, don't they?
They play each other, and I'm just going to go for the home guy there, especially because I think Brighton at home are much more defensive force. But But I'm looking at that, and I don't know, Salah or Fernandes for the captaincy is the main.
I feel like, is it allowed that if we all go, I feel like we're edging towards Salah. Should we go Fernandes for his team to try and play those odds a little bit?
Well, I don't know. Well, the thing is, this guy has never finished outside the top 100k. So I'm conscious of staying within that, whilst at the same time doing the best we can. And I don't know, maybe are we saying Fernandes because we're not doing Fernandes and we've got access to someone else's team?
That's absolutely my reasoning. It's just an experiment.
So I need a definite Fernandes is better than Salah rather than that. I think maybe.
I mean, I'm captaining Salah, so if we're doing that, obviously I'd say Salah.
Yeah, because I don't want to use his team as a plaything for our foibles. Buendia is the one I'm looking at for game week 3 to remove, I think.
Oh yeah, I think no transfers now is smart.
No transfers now, and then I think maybe 1, and then maybe game week 4 have 2 still.
Yeah, lovely.
So I'm looking at those, and I think we're starting to look. Buendia, I don't know whether he is too lightweight yet. He certainly looked potentially, but if he does well, game week 2. Now I'm away next week, as I've said. So I'm going to hand the keys to this team over to you two for next week. So I'm not going to have... I'll have input this week, but next week, game week 3, when we have to make a transfer or lose it, it's over to you. So don't ruin it for Alex or me.
Easy.
Seamus Coleman.
Yeah. So Seamus Coleman will come in. But yeah, so we'll chat about it. But if anyone's got any thoughts, tweet us about it, or if they've got any thoughts in the comments, do let us know. We don't want to ruin this guy's team, but we do want it to do well as well. So yeah, there's some choices to be made. Let's have a look at our game week 2 teams. So who's first? Let's go for Andy. Woohoo. Brilliant. Okay, all our ranks are there. I think I've got your team correct. And I think I've got the right colours, almost. And I think I've got all the right shirts. For those noticing this week, there's a Meet the Manager video out later this week. I've given a Liverpool player an Everton shirt. That is a mistake. That's not me being horrible. That's a genuine mistake. So apologies for that.
All right, Rafa.
So yeah, Andy, who have you got and what are you doing? Salah or Fernandes for the captaincy?
Yeah, so I'm rolling. I feel absolutely fine about my team. I feel this is what I wanted to do anyway, was roll. And obviously I've been lucky that no one's been injured. I didn't start with Gundogan, anybody like that. I feel really happy about my team in general. I feel like Ings could do bits against Newcastle. I think Newcastle conceded quite a few chances. So I feel like that could be a bit of a shootout, that game, actually. I feel like Mahrez, if he starts, could do very well against Norwich. So I'm very happy because this will be his last game for me anyway. I am edging towards Salah at the moment because of that, trying not to overthink it too much. But there is that bit in the back of my head thinking Fernandes could just have so much joy against Southampton. Yeah. But I just think Salah at home with the Anfield crowd, I think that's why I'm edging towards Salah personally. And then the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Tsimikas and Alexander-Arnold they should keep Burnley out. Yeah. I think they've got about 62% chance of a clean sheet, which is the highest this week. So there's no reason why the double up shouldn't be fine. And this might be Tsimikas' last game in my starting 11, and then he drops back in. So drops back into my bench. So no, I feel good. I think this is probably the week where Tony gets me a return as well. So yeah, feel very, very strong this week, and then attack next week.
You've got, I mean, it's a sea of blue, but you have got two sort of pinks in there. Barnes and Ben Rama. They're playing against each other. I mean, that could I can't call that, but that could be massive scoring. It could be 0-0. I mean, what's your inkling there between West Ham and Leicester? Who do you think out of Barnes and Ben Rama are going to get you the points?
Do you know what? I feel the same as you. I feel like there could be a few goals in that one, personally. I feel like Barnes will have another week behind him as well, because I've seen a few people saying that Barnes... I said that I don't think he looks completely fit yet, personally. But I think with another week there, that's good. I can see that being quite a high scoring, personally. It'll be 0-0 now. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it's 0-0, I get 3 points from both of them, and I'll take that.
Could you, in game week 38, if you've got a similar team, please captain Scarlett? I mean, that is just crying out for it still.
I'll do it.
Right, Seb, let's have a look at your team. So you have, hopefully I've got all the right shirts and colours.
I can't believe you won't let me captain Fernandes in Alex's team, but you want him to captain Scarlett.
I've discovered why in the Meet the Manager video I have an Everton shirt where Tsimikas is, because I
didn't want to say it as well, Joe, but I'm pretty sure you've got Bruno Fernandes in a Liverpool shirt on there.
Oh, what? Let's have a look.
On your one? Yeah, he's definitely got a different shirt to Shaw. Seb's is fine. Don't worry.
You know what? Look, I mean, I thought, to be honest, I don't think Liverpool, Manchester United fans will mind. I just
you only had one job, Joe.
I had one job, and it's really fiddly with the red shirts. Why can't
I'm looking forward to when we have to do it next week, Andy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, look,
they're all in white shirts. It's just plain white shirts.
I'm hands up. Everton and Liverpool, blue and red. That's a blunder. But Manchester United and Liverpool, they're pretty. I mean, from a distance, they're pretty similar. There's just that little white bit there. I mean, not the teams, and not when you look close, not when you see the shirts. I
don't want to upset 900 people watching, so I'm going to stay out of this one.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I'm just going to blame Manchester and Liverpool for having similar shirts. So, Seb, let's see if we've. Fernandes is in a Manchester United shirt. So, Seb, take us through your team and what you're doing. Nothing,
sure.
I think.
At the moment, team looks like it's going to be exactly the same as last week, which is Sanchez in goal, Trent, Shaw, Dean and Tsimikas at the back. Salah captain with Fernandes and Buendia in the middle. And Danny Ings, Antonio and Wilson up top, which means my bench is Steele, Rafinha first, Brownhill and Livramento from Southampton.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one player that I'm kind of disappointed with is Buendia. Mm-hmm. But like I say, the only thing that might push me to making a move is some price changes, just because at this stage, the old 0.1 is 0.5. Mm. But that, I don't know. Like I say, I might do it. I really probably shouldn't. If I wake up one morning and feel like doing it, maybe. But realistically, the team will stay the same. Buendia's got the match that Benrahma had last week. So if he's ever going to do well, it'll be this week.
Is this my mistake or is this yours? That you got Rafinha on your bench?
Yeah. Who would you start him over?
Well, anyone, because you're a Leeds fan. That's why. Buendia. If you're not happy with Buendia, and you've already got Ings.
Oh, but he's got Newcastle at home.
Yeah, I don't know. I think.
I brought in Rafinha to when Tsimikas stops playing to then have effectively the 3-4-3.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's just between those two, but Tsimikas at home against Burnley, I think is better than Rafinha at home to Everton. If the other options are Wilson, I think I prefer him. Yeah. Antonio Ings, Buendia, maybe. It could change. But I think Everton will do okay against us. Their goals they scored against us last season were crosses from memory.
Yeah.
I think they look defensively solid enough.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're all there yet. I don't massively back us to beat Everton.
Okay. I mean, I think that's just my natural instinct to hedge my bets. If I didn't have Ings, I would, and only Buendia, I would play Buendia. But I just think in terms of the player who could actually score, I don't know. Yeah, it is a tough one, but going 4-3-3, that allows you the scope there. So, for example, if Tsimikas does indeed move out the side because Robertson's back, I guess you can move him in. But yeah, I don't know. You seem pretty heart set on that, so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those. That was the plan, so I'll follow it through.
People are going mad in the chat, by the way, saying,
really?
Dean out.
See that?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that.
That's the thing, though. If I think Everton will beat us and potentially keep a clean sheet, then playing Dean over Rafinha is the move. If I flip that and think the opposite later in the week, then I agree that's the change to make. I've got the week to think about it, but at the moment, I kind of back Everton to beat us to 0.
I think
maybe that's me being pessimistic.
I think I've been such a 3-4-3, 3-5-2. No, I just don't really like playing defenders. So any excuse to play an attack over defender, I just go for it. So that's the only.
I'm going to be peer pressured into playing.
No, you're right about the chat. They got mad about it.
Do it.
I mean, I've put Manchester United players in Liverpool shirts, Liverpool players in Everton shirts. They haven't even batted an eyelid over that, and then Rafinha gets benched, and suddenly it's like a free for all. Okay, let's have a look at my team. And do you know what I'm most excited about? To see if I've got the right shirts. So let's have a look. Yay! It's looking good. I think. Yes, it is looking good. So I've got not the team, just the shirts. Yeah, it's fine. Sanchez, I'm playing as opposed to Steele, who's non-playing. I've got Luke Shaw, Alexander-Arnold, Simicast, Salah captain, Fernandes vice captain. I think I'm going to stick with that. It was my initial instinct. I just think at home advantage. Barnes, I could go either way, as Andy was saying. Greenwood, I'm really happy with. Could get benched, but I'll take 20 minutes of Greenwood against Southampton, especially against Southampton, actually, against those weak, tired Southerner legs towards the end of the match. Ings, really happy with Ings. I think he's a good captaincy shout, actually, against home to Newcastle. I think Bailey should start. I think Watkins could be back. That's a bit more creativity and a bit more firepower for them to furnish Ings. Antonio and Tony, his brother, the Tony brothers. I can't see any things I'd probably change there. And I've got Ayling as my first one. So Ben White's moved down to third sub, and Ayling is now my first sub. But I look at that. I mean, I don't know. Either of you two look at that and think, "Oh, do this or do that."
Nah, you're fine, aren't you? I think roll it. We made the teams for the first 2 weeks, didn't we? So I mean, you look at that now, and I think you would hope it was going to be high scoring, but actually, I feel like this is probably going to be the week where we all come crashing back down to normal scores, aren't we?
Yeah. This is the one. If like Tony, Barnes and Shaw end up my highest scores, I'll be Sanchez. I'd be happy because they're the ones that blanked for me last time. And if the likes and the other ones, blank this week, I won't mind so much. But I think what was the average score? It was 69,
60 something,
60, 70 something. It's not going to be that. If that's really, can either of you remember a higher one, like in a single game week?
Oh goodness, I mean maybe a double, but I'm not going to say I've committed them to memory.
2 years ago, the first game week was quite high scoring because everybody had Salah and Sterling, didn't they? Yeah. Sterling got a hat trick against West Ham. I think that was quite high scoring. Not 60s though. I don't know. But that was quite high scoring.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to a nice slide, just our faces, because it's time to say goodbye, everyone. So before we go, I do want to remind people about the members area. All those Opta data, the Underachievers, Overachievers, all of that's there as well. And as the episodes go by, we'll have more stats and hopefully some more graphics for me to tangle with as we show those stats. So lots of Opta driven data there, including the comparison tool, Rate My Team and more. And of course, the goals imminence table. Do check that out. In the meantime, it's a goodbye from me.
A goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Goodbye all.